Greetings from South Africa. It's a freezing cold day here in Stellenbosch. I'm telling you, if you have two jackets over each other and so many layers in there and you still are freezing, you should know how cold it is. And it's not that my friends in the US and all around the world, that your weather's not colder than us. The thing is just our homes are not isolated like yours, and yeah, we're not really geared for this cold weather, but God, in it all, He never leaves us and never forsakes us. And I want to speak a little bit today about the truths about suffering in God's kingdom, because this is really the truth. I don't know if it's just because our country is so tiny, and you know, it's not even that it reached the news. It's just this one contact this one, Retah, will you pray with this and that, and you hear the violent things going on in our country, and the people getting murdered, people die, about so many sad stories. And I just went on my face yesterday and I said this. I said, Jesus, you know, I really don't know sometimes what to say to people other than the truth, which is through it all, He will never leave us nor forsake us. Because, you know, we can go through trauma experiences, but the thing is, if we don't handle it, it stays within us. You know, the body carry the score, because our cell memory carry the memory, and it keeps it just like the moment it happened. Your cell memory keeps that, and that, if it's never dealt with, you give that over to the next generation, and they get that exactly the same cell memory. So this is why God, He commands us to take authority even over our body, and to speak to your body, to release the trauma, to release the pain. Sometimes you can look at a person and you see the inflammation in them. Wherever the inflammation in your body is, you need to know that area carries a story, and it actually want to speak to you. It's a part of you that are hidden, and that part tried to get your attention and try to say something to you. Retah, come on, listen to me. So we have to listen to what's going on inside of us. You can look at some people's shoulders, their neck, their heart. Some people would just say, my heart pains. You know, I have so much pain in my heart, and that is so true. So the memories are stored at cellular level, and that is why God said, even to a man like Enoch, you need to clean up until the cell memories. You need to clean all up. Because we are a storehouse, and what do we store? And whatever we store, it's not only rawness that we store. If there's raw meat, there's always flies. I wonder if I speak so loud or what, but there's a storm outside, so it feels like I'm screaming. So let's quickly look at some sufferings. Why do we suffer? Acts 14:22. Though many tribulations we're going through, we enter through that into the kingdom of God. So this reality is something that we need to know. The New Jerusalem of no tears and no pain, no mourning, no death hasn't arrived yet. So Revelation 21. My dear friends, what we're going through now is for now. But God is preparing us. We go through trials, we go through tribulations, we even go through fire. I just heard about 3 families staying in a home in the Kalahari, and the home burned down, and most of them died in that, and a couple of them are in ICU now. And when I heard that, my heart just broke, and I'm like, Jesus, this is tough. And you know, it just made me think now of the fire. When we go through the fire, as in all this that we experience here on earth, I keep on reminding myself of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where there was King Nebuchadnezzar could see someone with them. He thought it was some other god, some of the other gods being with him, but it wasn't. It was the God. It was the God, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that stood with them in the fire. And when I read that, I always remind myself, and I'm saying to myself, you know, either I'm going to be alone in the fire and the fire is going to really burn me, or I'm going to take his hand and seeing him in the fire. And this is the challenge of all of us. We need to see Jesus in the fire, in the midst of what we are going through. Now, suffering has many faces, as you all know. So the Bible don't only give one way of suffering. I read of Paul in Corinthians 4 verse 8 and 9. Paul wrote, and he says, we are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. He says, yeah, there are going to be many ways that we're going to go through it. He talks about mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. Do you know that all those things are suffering? It's just different ways of sufferings. You know, when I deal in the kingdom coaching with people, the one sits with a dad that always swears and screams and wanted to destroy. The other one has a husband like that. The other one has a wife that is not committed. And it's just, the one has a mental issue. And it's different kinds of suffering. And we can't say this one are more than this one. It afflicts us. But through it all, Jesus wants us to look out. Where is he in this? Where do you find I am in your suffering? Because this is one of the things that's going to pull you through. So when there's sufferings, God says there's a community. And we need to be Jesus' hands and feet when people go through suffering. And then suffering equips us. Yeah, I know it's hard to say, but it does. It equips us to become stronger and to have a longer breath and more air in our lungs so that we can go further and also to help others. 2 Corinthians 1 verse 4, Paul speaking again, he says that God comforts us in all our affliction so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with a comfort that which is we ourselves are comforted by God. So the comfort that God gives me today, I can give to you. And I can look you in the eyes today and I can tell you this. I can say to you, you know what? All the areas of my life where I thought me, I need to overcome this. I need to. I suffered. But the moment when I looked for I am in the fire, and I found I am, and I brought all this to his domain, and not in my domain, keep it there, but through into his domain. The moment I did that, something changed. You see, it's a principality change from this darkness to light, from pushing me down to God is always lifting us up. So it's a different place. And I had to learn in my life, come out of this domain where you think everything is you, and ask him, I am. So suffering is actually a battleground. If I read the book of Job, this is a really good explanation of how suffering, God takes the suffering, he takes us through it all, and it becomes a praise to God in the midst of suffering. Job 2 verse 9 to 10 explains about that. Now suffering prepares us for something beautiful, and this is the glory of God. You see what suffering does? It burns out all the dirt out of us, all the self out of us. It brings you to a place where there's nothing left of you. And my dear friend, do you know how many times in my life I thought there's nothing left? And just till the next time, then I see again, oh my goodness, so much of me. So every time when I die, there is space for more of the glory of God. And the next time that I die, more space for the glory of God. So Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 17, 18. He says, this light momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen, those are eternal. I read a lot in the scripture about suffering. And I know, it's like sandpaper for the modern Christian. They don't want to hear about suffering. No. Jesus came. I don't need to have any suffering. My dear friends, even Jesus went through suffering. Even Jesus went through the tests in the wilderness. Even Jesus went through tears. Even Jesus. And I know naturally we all avoid suffering. We even avoid suffering for our children. But God brings, allow suffering in our lives. And it's for an eternal joy. It's for an internal purification. It's for an eternal glory. And it's not only for one day. God already wants us in this life to experience His glory. Now, there are so many scriptures that I found when I prepared for this, about the fire of God. There will be a wall of fire around her, and I will be the glory in her midst. Zechariah 2. Fire transforms us, and it's changed the molecule structure in us. It releases what's in us, brings it out. It says in Leviticus 9:24, then the fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and all the portions of fat on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. 2 Chronicles 7. Now when Solomon had finished praying, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and sacrifices. Listen then. And the glory of the Lord filled the house. You see, this fire, my friend, this fire changed us. And the enemy looked at us in the fire, just like King Nebuchadnezzar, and he said, turn it on, turn it on. 7 times, turn it on. And he thinks he's going to harm us. But God knows, I'm going to be there with you in the fire. And I want you to find me in the fire. I am. And if you find God, Yahweh, Elohim in the fire, and you can take his hand, they can fire up and put it on 7 times. You know what the enemy think is going to hurt you? It's painful in that moment, but God, you have him. But he think he's going to put it on? What is he doing? He's just fastening the process. More of God's glory. Less of us and more of him. Less of us and more of him. Yes. So, whatever you are facing today, I just want to encourage you and ask you, make sure that you don't do it by your own strength, because you're going to die in that fire. But if you find I am in the fire, you're going to go out of the fire and you're not even going to smell like smoke. But if you're not, you're going to die in there. Isn't that amazing to know? I am. He is always with us. So, my friend, I see some of you have summer and are on the beaches. So for us, it's still very, very cold. It's really, really a cold winter for me this year. But God is even in control of this. You know, I got to a place where I just say, God, in everything in my life, you are in control. Every little detail of my life, you are in control. And that makes life much, much easier. So God's will, we speak tomorrow.